10 countries on the brink of collapse. The world is moving fast, and in the third quarter of 2025, while many of us are occupied with the daily grind, entire nations are silently fracturing. Could a favorite travel destination vanish from the map next year? Would a nurse in South Sudan still have a clinic to work in by December? Will farmers in Zimbabwe survive another drought without food riots? This isn't a dystopian fantasy, it's a reality unfolding right now. We're not talking about the usual geopolitical hotspots. The real danger zones might surprise you. Here are 10 countries on the brink of collapse, and why you're not hearing more about them. 10. Venezuela. A country with the world's largest proven oil reserves is now struggling to keep the lights on. In mid-2025, daily blackouts in major cities stretch for 12 hours or more, crippling everything from homes to essential services. The economy is in a state of paralysis, with inflation now soaring above 250% and rising. The government's main source of income, PDVSA oil exports, is hobbled by renewed U.S. sanctions. The once mighty Guri Dam, a hydropower linchpin, is failing, and with it, the country's entire power grid. An unfair presidential election in July 2024 has led to a brutal wave of political repression and a further deterioration of the humanitarian crisis. The UN estimates that 7.6 million people, 1 in 4, now require humanitarian assistance. This isn't just instability, it's a structural breakdown happening under the radar. 9. South Sudan. Imagine depending on one pipeline for 90% of your national income, and then having that pipeline go offline. That's South Sudan's grim reality. Since February 2024, the DR blend export route has been out of commission, causing a financial crisis. The government can't pay civil servants, soldiers are going rogue, and hospitals are without vital supplies. The humanitarian toll is staggering. 7.7 million people are facing food insecurity, with over 60,000 already in catastrophic famine conditions. The 2018 peace deal is unraveling, and gunfire is once again a regular sound in key states. As aid groups pull back due to unsafe roads, a slow-motion implosion is underway, turning a conflict zone into a state on the verge of complete collapse. 8. Mali. Mali is a war-weary country with a military government now fighting a two-front collapse, from internal political strife and external insurgency. In mid-2025, a military base was reportedly seized by jihadist rebels, with over 100 soldiers killed, sending shockwaves across West Africa. In the capital, Bamako, protests have erupted against the military junta's crackdown on political parties. Nearly 1.2 million people are now internally displaced, and with the World Food Programme cutting aid, millions are going hungry. The country's primary economic lifeline, gold exports, is being choked by insecurity. Mali isn't just in trouble, armed groups control vast swaths of the north, democracy is outlawed, and a young, desperate population has little hope for the future. 7. Zimbabwe. Welcome to Zimbabwe, 2025, where a brand new currency, the Zimbabwe gold, ZiG, launched with bold promises, lost 40% of its value in less than a year. Annual inflation for the ZiG hit 92.1% by May 2025, and food prices have skyrocketed, making basic items a luxury. This currency crisis is compounded by the country's worst food crisis in years, driven by El Niño-induced droughts. A national emergency has been declared, and nearly 6 million people, roughly 40% of the population, are facing serious hunger. Aid agencies are struggling to secure funding, and in rural areas, schools are closing due to food shortages. Despite some talk of an economic recovery driven by mining, this doesn't help the average person trapped in a perfect storm of a collapsing currency, failing crops, and growing frustration. 6. Yemen. Imagine living in a place where the lights are off for 19 hours a day, every day. That's a daily reality for many in Yemen, even in its more stable regions. The frustration has led to massive street protests over basic services. But the true crisis is deeper. Over 17 million people are facing extreme food insecurity, with some areas already at catastrophe famine levels. A staggering 15 million people lack access to clean water, and the country's water network is functionally collapsing. Humanitarian aid is drying up, and the national currency has lost so much value that people are now bartering for bread. With no central government, just fragmented factions, the country is bleeding out in silence, and the humanitarian collapse is accelerating. 5. Somalia. Somalia in 2025 is a country fighting famine, a powerful insurgency, and a failing government all at once. The militant group Al-Shabaab has recaptured strategic towns, highlighting the federal government's unraveling control. The humanitarian crisis is dire. 3.4 million Somalis have fallen into food crisis levels, with hundreds of thousands just one step away from starvation. The Horn of Africa is enduring its driest cycle in 40 years, killing crops and livestock. In 5 southern districts, famine has been declared, but 5. Somalia. Somalia in 2025 is a country fighting famine, a powerful insurgency, and a failing government all at once. The militant group Al-Shabaab has recaptured strategic towns, highlighting the federal government's unraveling control. The humanitarian crisis is dire. 3.4 million Somalis have fallen into food crisis levels, with hundreds of thousands just one step away from starvation. The Horn of Africa is enduring its driest cycle in 40 years, killing crops and livestock. In 5 southern districts, famine has been declared, but Al-Shabaab has blocked foreign aid from reaching these areas. Basic governance barely exists, and with elections postponed yet again, there's no political roadmap to stability. Somalia isn't slowly failing, it's accelerating towards a state of total collapse. 2. Lebanon. How does a country function with no president, a collapsing currency, and electricity for only 2 hours a day? Lebanon is facing this nightmare. The country has been in a dangerous political vacuum since late 2022. The Lebanese pound. 1. Sudan. How many times can a country fall apart before there's nothing left to collapse? That's the brutal question Sudan is facing in 2025. A ruthless civil war between the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces has killed over 150,000 people and displaced 12 million more. The capital, Khartoum, is in ruins, and ethnic massacres have returned to Darfur. The country is on the brink of becoming the world's largest failed state, with a non-existent economy, hospitals bombed or abandoned, and schools closed. Over